Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto turns into a girl on mission with Sasuke. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. The war had ended and Sasuke had finally returned to Konoha. Naruto had done it. He brought him back, just like he swore he would. Everything seemed to be going to the brighter end. All the villages were at peace. Madara was gone and Lady Kaguya was sealed away. Konoha was being rebuilt. The truth about the Uchiha massacre was brought to light, despite Itachi's wish of keeping it hidden. The world had to know about the wrongdoings of Danzo and the council. People had to acknowledge the sacrifices he had made in all for the village's sake. Pride came second to everything he had gone through. Itachi became a legend. Things were finally starting to get normal. And to make things better, it was finally the day. The day when the two war heroes were getting discharged. The hospital was awfully quiet today, considering the fact that the villagers visited the place just to see the face of their savior, Naruto, almost every day. There wasn't too big of a crowd outside. Inside the room where Sasuke and Naruto were being treated, quite a few people had gathered. So are we clear of the arrangement? Lady Tsunade asked, rather in a serious worried tone. Of course, Ba-chan. Quote, I was talking to Sasuke actually. She crossed her arms and looked at the Ravenhead. Since the elders have decided to clear all your charges because of your contributions to the war, they have also put on the condition that you need to be staying with Naruto till you can prove everyone that you're not a threat anymore. Quote, so are you willing to comply? Quote, do I have a choice? Sasuke asked in a monotone voice, looking at Tsunade. Not that I'll mind living with the Dobi. He saved me after all. Apparently, no, you don't. Then yes, I'll stay with him. I need to start fixing things. He closed his eyes and had a small unnoticeable smile lingering on his lips. But that didn't go unnoticed by the blonde. He grinned wide and with his new arm, pulled Sasuke into a side hug. You're actually happy that you get to cohabit with the great Naruto, aren't you, Teme? Quote, Lady Tsunade was sipping on a glass of water that Shizune had brought her. And as soon as the word cohabit left his mouth, she choked on her water and started coughing. Kakashi raised his head from his icha and Sakura face palmed. An irk mark appeared on Sasuke's forehead with an embarrassed blush as he used his only arm to strangle his best friend, who he was going to cohabit with. You loser. Don't say stuff like that. Quote, why shouldn't I? You are happy to cohabit with me, I know you are. Quote, say, sharing an apartment, Dobi. Quote, as they continued, Lady Tsunade sighed and turned to Shizune. Let's get out of here. Sakura can handle their discharge. Yes, my lady. Quote, don't worry about them, Tsunade-sama. I'll handle it. Quote, well, that's that. From this day on, the two of them were supposed to be living together. A perfect plan or a disaster? No one knew. But one thing was certain, this was a new beginning, or rather, their new beginning. Sasuke had already moved into Naruto's new apartment that was provided by the council. The apartment was quite big and spacious, so Sasuke didn't have any objections. Except for one though. Wake up, Dobi, he yelled, banging on the door to Naruto's room. No response. I swear if you don't wake up right this instant, I'll blast open the door. Quote, Teme, why are you making a commotion so early in the morning? Naruto asked sheepishly, opening the door slightly. The sun's already up, how can you sleep so much? Quote, that's your question. I'm going back to sleep. Quote, pissed, Sasuke grabs Naruto's collar and drags Naruto outside to the living room and points a finger at the huge pile of ramen cups and instant noodles and other snacks lying everywhere. Empty wrappers here and there. In other words, a complete mess. Explain, he demanded. Naruto wipes his eyes and looks around lazily and literally confused, what am I supposed to be looking at? Quote, look at the huge pile of trash. We moved here just yesterday. How can there be so much rubbish already? Haven't you grown up even a little? And what's up with all the ramen? Where's the actual food? I need breakfast but the fridge is empty. What happened to the grocery funds we got yesterday? Sasuke bombarded Naruto with questions. Well, about that. Since I didn't know how to cook, I brought canned food for you and instant ramen for myself, hehe. Sasuke facepalmed himself, you idiot. You could have said that before. Now we don't have anything decent to eat. Are you mad? You can have some of my ramen if you want. Quote, that's not the point. He was about to continue but a knock was heard outside the window. Sasuke raised an eyebrow and walked towards the window and pulled off the blinds only to reveal an Anbu member. He opened the window and waited for the other to speak. Naruto approached from behind and stared at the person, confused. "It's good that you two are awake. Lord Hokage wishes your presence," the Anbu spoke. "What? But it's so early. What does Kakashi-sensei want us to do in the morning?" Naruto questioned lazily. Sasuke sighed as the Anbu spoke again. "You'll get food." "Food?" Naruto cheered up immediately. "I'll be there in a minute." And then he rushed to his room to get change. Sasuke sighed at his best friend's immaturity and looked at the Anbu and nodded, to assure he'll be there as well. The Anbu nodded back and disappeared. Sasuke went to get changed as well. Time skip, at a local restaurant. "So what's this about, Kakashi-sensei? You never usually treat us to meals, and especially breakfasts." Quote, the three of them had just finished eating their breakfast when Naruto asked the question. Kakashi looked somewhat tensed as he waited for the waitress to clear out all their plates. Once she was down, he asked them to come a little closer and then he started speaking. "Well, you see, there have been some troublemakers of shinobi who are being rumored to have stolen the remnants of the war, that included many secret scrolls and seals. I don't think they are aware of the danger those scrolls possess, but it's better to get them back as soon as possible." Quote, Naruto was excited to be getting a mission just after a day of his discharge, so he wasn't even paying attention. Sasuke, however, was listening to every word Kakashi was saying. Kakashi continued, "Well, it's just that we don't have many ninjas available right now as most of them are busy rebuilding. Plus those guys have been spotted, heading out of the land of fire. So I was hoping," he trailed off. "So you want us to look into the matter?" Sasuke asked, already knowing his sensei's answer. "We'll do it then." "When do we start?" Quote, "It'll be best to start now." Quote, "Got it, let's go Naruto," Sasuke said, getting up. Naruto got up as well and punched the air above him, determined, "Not that I understand this troublesome ninja deal, but I take that some bastards are looking for a fight. I'm in, let's get going Sasuke." Quote, The mission went on smoothly. The two of them had picked up the trail left behind by the troublemakers and had quickly caught on. Now currently, Sasuke was busy trying up those ninjas to a big tree in order to interrogate them while Naruto observed them vividly. They didn't even put much of a fight. The two of them had made sure that the ninjas were unconscious, but what they didn't see was that one had gained consciousness. This one guy pretended to be out, while he performed some hand signs and muttered out something that went completely unnoticed by Sasuke and Naruto. Naruto was lost in his thoughts, probably chatting away with Kurama while Sasuke continued his job tying them up. After he was finished, he began, "Hey Naruto, I'm done tying them up. Would you like to do the interrogate?" Quote, he would have continued, but what he saw next when he turned around cut him short. An irk mark appears on Sasuke's forehead with a small blush. "Just what do you think you're doing using that jutsu now of all times?" Quote, Naruto stared at him wide-eyed, not quite understanding what he meant. What do you?" Quote, Naruto's pav. What did Sasuke mean doing that jutsu? "What jutsu? What do you?" Wait, my voice. What happened to my voice? Why do I sound like a girl? And wait, my clothes, why do they feel so loose and… God no, what are these on my chest? I'm dreaming. This has to be a dream. I am a girl, but I didn't perform the Waijutsu, then how? Wait, I'll try to remove it. Tries undoing the jutsu. Why is it not working? No. Yeah, Sasuke, he must know what to do. Hey, Sasuke, help me, I'm not doing any jutsu. I don't know what happened, but I am not able to come back to normal. What should I do? Quote, honestly Dobi, we don't have time for your jokes. I get that this was a boring mission, but stop messing around. Quote, I'm not messing around, why wouldn't he believe me? Third person's pav. Sasuke was certain that Naruto was messing around and he was annoyed that the Dobi wasn't taking his mission seriously, although this female Naruto looked nothing like the Waijutsu he always performed. This one was dressed and she had soft features. Round face, pouty lips, puffed up cheeks. Two pretty long blonde pigtails, short body frame and shrunk in height. Naruto must have upgraded his Waijutsu. The new version sure is cute and adorable, Sasuke thought, but little did he know that Naruto was not playing around. I'm not messing around, Naruto protested. Whatever Dobi, just change back. Sasuke sighed and turned to look at the unconscious shinobi who were tied to the tree. The shinobi who was conscious had a small smirk on his face as he played along. Since you already caught up to us, I'll be leaving you with a little parting gift. Ha ha ha, enjoy. Sasuke Uchiha, he thought. Naruto bit his lip, frustrated that his best friend wasn't believing him. He decided that that was the only way now. He hurried over to where Sasuke was and grabbed his hands, turning him around to face him. Then she placed his hands over her newly formed C-cup breasts and gave them a little squeeze using his hands with her hands on top of his. With a flushed face, she looked up at him and said, "Pouting? Do they feel fake to you?" Quote. Sasuke was silent. It took him quite a while to comprehend what was happening. His hands squeezing Naruto's. There was no damn way they were fake. They were soft and nice to touch, and the little perked up S had sent his mind to a frenzy. Plus Naruto's blushing face and the pout. He didn't know that Naruto could make a face like that. But before any more comprehending, a gush of blood flew out of his nose and he passed out. The great Uchiha had just been rendered helpless due to a major nosebleed. Sasuke's pav, whatever dobe, just changed back. I sigh and turned to look at the tied-up shinobi, thinking what I must do with them since Naruto was busy upgrading his nuisance of a jutsu and definitely wasn't planning on interrogating them. But before I realize what was happening, I see Naruto's face close to mine, completely flushed and his lips forming a pout. Almost adorable. But that wasn't the issue here. I feel myself touching Naruto's breasts. Wait, what? What was he thinking grabbing my arms and making me grope him? Even if he's a guy, right now he's a girl and I'm... Shit. This is how it feels to. God no, stop thinking like that. But they're kinda soft, and nice. Wait, is that? Before I finish my thoughts, I feel my face heating up and the blood rushing to my face. And then black. I feel wet near my nose. Was it blood? Did I get a nosebleed? And my thoughts go blank as I fall unconscious. Third person's pav. Time skip. Sasuke and Naruto were jumping over the trees and making their way to the village, through the forest. Naruto. Well, the now female Naruto had a huge bump on her head. Apparently that's where Sasuke yanked her when he gained consciousness. He was mad for her to do something so outrageous. She was a girl and she had just made him grope a girl's female parts. And the fact that he liked touching and feeling on her breasts made him even angrier and embarrassed. Don't do that again, Sasuke stated bluntly, ever. Quote. Ah, but you liked it, didn't ya? Naruto teased, making another pouting face. You even got a nosebleed, you perv. Sasuke shivered before stopping. I swear. He spoke in an awfully serious tone, desperately trying to hide the blush forming on his face. If you tell anyone about it, I swear I'll make you pay. Quote. Okay. I won't tell anyone that you enjoyed feeling my boobs. Shut up. Quote. Hee. Quote. Time skip. Hokage's tower. Kakashi was scribbling on some notes when banging on the front door was heard. He pretty much figured who it was. Come in. As soon as he asked them to enter, the door swung open and a loud Naruto barged in, followed by a poised Sasuke. Kakashi sighed and raised his head to find out what the problem now was. He had already received the mission report from Sasuke's summoned snake, stating that they let all the shinobi go, since they accepted that they just planned to get some money by selling the scrolls. He also mentioned that they have secured all the seals as well. So now Kakashi wondered why the blonde was all hyped up. But he stopped momentarily when he saw what he saw. It was Naruto all right. The loud voice and actions explained it, but what he saw was also a petite figure that barely reached Sasuke's neck and long blonde hair tied in tails. Naruto. That you? He asked, quite amused by the new image of Naruto's Waijutsu. Why are you using your? Don't you even start by saying that it is my Waijutsu, cuz it's not. I have actually turned into a girl and now I can't change back. Oh, he responded, quite shocked. What do you mean by, oh? I'm serious here. I really became a girl. Sasuke confirmed it. Quote. Now this had piqued Kakashi's interest. Sasuke confirmed it. He looked at Sasuke, who had yanked Naruto once again over the head. Kakashi raised an eyebrow with a smirk forming beneath his mask. Sasuke blushed with embarrassment. It's not what you're thinking. Quote. Okay. Kakashi gained his composure and examined Naruto before speaking again. Well, it may be that someone else cast a jutsu on you. Did someone do anything while you were capturing them? Quote, not that I can remember. They all seemed pretty weak. We just needed a few strong punches and they were all out cold, Naruto replied, trying to remember every detail that took place. Sasuke nodded. Well, I'll let Tsunade-sama know about this and you probably should go visit her. Kakashi rubbed the back of his neck. Sasuke, you'll be accompanying her and yeah, there's one more thing. Naruto was out in her own world, probably doing some thinking of his own while Sasuke listened. Get Naruto some decent cloths, will you? I mean, his male cloths won't actually, you know what I mean. Kakashi trailed off with a slight blush beneath his mask. Sasuke immediately realized what he was talking about and his own face flushed, remembering the incident that had happened a while ago in the forest. I'll see to that. He replied quickly and grabbed Naruto by her arm and pulled her out of the room. Kakashi was kinda surprised at his stuttering and his blushing. But oh well, he already had a lot on his plate. Sasuke was dragging Naruto with him. Naruto was, for the first time, being obedient. She wasn't complaining and was okay with Sasuke pulling her with him. Before leaving the tower, Sasuke pulls off his cloak and wraps it around Naruto. She looks up at him with a "what are you doing" look. He looks away, embarrassed, saying, you'll be needing cloths. Wear it till we get some for you. Okay, thanks. Quote, just shut up and follow. Quote, you're still a bastard, Teme. Quote, Dobi. Quote, Sakura was freaking out. It was pretty normal actually. Well, how else is a girl supposed to react when the love of her life brings her the news that her best friend who was a male until recently, has turned into a female and now is in need of some female stuff? But I don't understand, why can't he just turn back? She asked frantically. He tried but he can't get back to normal. Sasuke replies before Naruto can answer. Can you just lend her some? Quote, yeah of course. Sakura cuts him off and grabs Naruto's arm, I'll make sure she's dressed well. You can wait here Sasuke-kun. And so she heads inside pulling Naruto along with her while Sasuke makes himself comfortable on the couch. After a while, no Sakura-chan, don't. Quote, Sasuke would almost have fallen asleep if the loud whine of Naruto hadn't reached his ears. Wearing only shorts that reached just below her hips, Naruto ran outside with a towel wrapped around her upper body, wearing nothing inside. Sasuke turned around to look what happened. But before anything else, Naruto jumped onto him, wrapping her legs around his waist, arms around his neck and head buried in his chest. She held on tightly and said with a slight whimper, save me Teme. Sakura's harassing me. She had a teary look and she didn't seem to care if she was wearing anything or not. Sasuke's pav. It's almost 15 minutes since they went in. How long is it going to take? I'm feeling sleepy. I thought, yawning. No Sakura-chan, don't. I hear Naruto whining again. Wonder what those two are doing. Single quote. I hear the door on my right open and so I turn to look what had happened. But before I could say or think anything else, I feel a weight latching onto my body. I was still on the couch but I feel slender arms and legs wrapping around me tightly. It was Naruto. What is she doing now? I thought. And then she buried her head on my chest and pressed on me. Immediately, after realizing our positions, and her small figure pressed onto me, I felt myself heating up. My cheeks had already turned red. Even my ears were tinted pink. I gulped hard as I felt the heat traveling to certain other parts of my body. He's my best friend. Stay calm. Just calm down, please just calm down, my mind kept repeating. I decided to say something when I heard her whimper when she said, save me Teme. Sakura's harassing me. Quote, she was all teary-eyed and I didn't know if she was joking or not. I mean Sakura wouldn't actually harass her, would she? I was thinking, trying to apprehend something out of her words when I realized something else. Naruto was naked. She was not wearing anything underneath a loose towel that wrapped around her body. She was wearing shorts but they were too small and her almost bare breasts were pressed against me. My mind went all fuzzy. I didn't know what to think. I went all stiff and my pants tightened. I desperately hoped that she wouldn't notice the growing bulge in my pants as I dropped my head on her right shoulder. Naruto. Why do you keep doing stuff like this? I spoke, my voice barely audible. My throat was completely dry. She slightly turned her head to her right. Her lips gently brushed against my ear and it took every last remaining strength I had left in me to control my voice and emotions. I stayed quiet and bit my cheek tight. I knew she was about to ask what I meant when I heard another yell. Naruto baka. It was Sakura. How could you just throw everything around like that? And what did you call me? A harasser. I'm definitely not harassing you. You have to wear a bra before wearing any other clothes. It's not harassment. And stop seeking shelter from Sasuke-kun. You still need to wear it. Quote. Naruto quickly turned to face her and argued, glossy-eyed, but it's so tight. It hurts my chest. I won't wear it. Quote. You have to. You don't have a choice. I'm sorry if my size doesn't suit you, but this is the only size I got. It's just a little small anyway, and besides you are going shopping, so you can buy new ones then. Quote. On hearing that, Naruto quickly changed positions. She was still on my lap, but her legs weren't around me. She was sitting on my thighs and was facing Sakura now. I was kinda relieved that she switched positions, but that's when she yelled again, a little small. Quote. I shut my eyes tight, trying desperately to send away the deep blush that rose to my cheeks and to calm down my member that throbbed inside my pants, when she cupped her boobs from over the towel and continued, look at them, Sakura. They're really big. Yours are not just a little small, they're way too small for me. Quote. That definitely got Sakura mad. I still had my eyes closed when I heard Sakura yell back, nah. Ru. Too. Baka. How dare you? She seemed really angry. Naruto knew better not to mess with Sakura. She visibly flinched and pulled me into a save me hug. I'm sorry, Sakura-chan. Please don't hurt me. If you do, your Sasuke-kun would be really mad at you. Yano. Then turning towards me. Her face dangerously close to mine. Right, Sasuke-kun. Quote. Then I decided it was enough. I had no damn idea what it was, but I was running out of breath. It felt so hot. It felt uncomfortable. Her face, it was different. It looked soft in her. Her lips. Did I just want to? No. I did not. I quickly made a clone and disappeared from the site. I ran out of the house and made my way to our apartment. I didn't stop anywhere in between. The bulge in my pants was clearly standing out. My heartbeat was faster than it had ever been and my head pounded aimlessly. I reached home as quick as I could and ran into the bathroom and turned on the cold shower. Naruto had no idea what had gotten into Sasuke for him to just disappear on her, his best friend, for God's sake. She just kept staring at the door for who knows what reason, with a hint of sadness apparent on her face. However, the scene that just played in front of them was not taken as a good sign by Sakura. For some reason, she suddenly got this uneasy feeling. Some sort of insecurity, maybe. But keeping the thought aside, she dragged Naruto back to her room, forgetting her fully clothed and then to go shopping. With Sasuke. Third person's POV. Sasuke was done with his shower and was a lot calmer now. He decided not to think too much about what came over him before. Or rather, he was fighting desperately against his own animalistic thoughts about his best friend. His mind was in a turmoil while his hands were busy chopping the veggies for a meal. He was cooking when his mind wandered off to faraway places. TCH. Teenage hormones. Quote. After 2 hours, Naruto knocked on the front door to the apartment. It wasn't a loud bang like he always preferred. It was rather a simple and sophisticated knock. Sasuke walked up to the door and opened it slowly, only to reveal a tidy Naruto dressed perfectly in an orange jumpsuit, not the same old baggy one. A nice and figured orange and black jumpsuit and shorts. It wasn't not even a bit, but her curves were still being highlighted. A.N. Just imagine your version of female Naruto in her clothes. Sasuke didn't realize, but he was looking her up and down. On realizing that Sasuke was checking her out in her new clothing, she blushed and fiddled. Does he hate it? She thought, a little anxious. But saying nothing, Sasuke walks back in, opening the door for her to enter. He didn't make any comment. The small blush that appeared on his cheek and a sweet smile that grazed his lips went completely unnoticed by anyone present there. The fact that Sasuke didn't say anything about her new look made Naruto quite upset. She didn't know why, but she wanted Sasuke to at least say that she looked good or just anything. After all, it's always been that way. Naruto running after Sasuke's acknowledgement. But this time it felt different, somehow. Naruto slowly walked in with a slightly disappointed look. Sasuke noticed her quietness and turned to see what was wrong. You okay, Dobi? Quote. Naruto's head shot up as she quickly replies, I'm fine. Quote. That's good then. Come in, I prepared you something delicious. To lighten up your mood, Sasuke smiled and started walking towards the kitchen again. But before going away, he looks back at Naruto over his shoulder and with a slight smirk-ish smile, he says, "You look really pretty like that, Naru." And then he walks in, not looking back since he himself was blushing lightly and didn't want the Dobi to tease him about that. And as for Naruto, as soon as Sasuke's back was turned, a deep shade of crimson rushed to her face. She stood still, surprised and blushing like a crazy idiot. Somehow, his compliment made her more than happy. She shook her head frantically, and slapped her cheeks lightly to get out of the daze. Then, with her signature grin plastered on her face, she rushed inside the kitchen as well. "So what'd you cook?" she asked, placing herself on a chair and stared at Sasuke's back. "Well, it's not ramen." Quote, "Oh, that's fine. Anything you cook is gonna be delicious anyway." She cheered happily. Sasuke smiled softly and began to prepare the table. "Wow, I'm amazed that you're not mad for not getting any ramen." "Haha, very funny. It's not like the only food I ever eat is ramen. And besides, too much ramen is bad for my health." Quote, on hearing that, Sasuke literally dropped the plate he was currently holding and stared wide-eyed at Naruto. "Did he hear that right? Are you being serious about that?" he asked, confused, that too much ramen is bad for your, health. Quote, "Of course it is. I mean, ramen is the tastiest thing in the entire world and especially Ichiraku's ramen, but eating it too much can give you a tummy ache." Quote, Sasuke just let out a still shocked but slightly amused chuckle and resumed eating. He didn't think that changing genders will have this great of an effect on his Dobi. Soon after they finish eating, Naruto stands up and stretches. Then, he picks up the dishes and looks at Sasuke. "You can leave the dishes to me, Yano. And then we can go to Ba-chan," she smiled. Sasuke kept getting surprised at the small changes in the new Naruto. If it were the old Naruto, he would never have offered to clean up. He was always messy when it came to food, let alone cleaning stuff. But this Naruto was actually offering to do the dishes. Yeah, sure, why not? Great. Quote, and so, after Sasuke finished eating, he watched Naruto very intently as she washed all the dishes quite happily, and that too while humming a small tune. "All done. Now let's go to Ba-chan." Quote, "Okay." After a while, Konoha Hospital. No. Please tell me you're joking. Please Ba-chan, don't do this to me. You're joking, right? Tell me you are. Naruto looked beyond terrified, she was literally trembling. "Calm down, Dobi. We're gonna figure something out. Stop freaking out." Even Sasuke seemed worried. He was trying to calm Naruto down, who was clearly not in her best moods, rubbing circles on her back. She looked up at Sasuke, all teary-eyed, "But you heard her." Quote, before she could continue, Sasuke pulled her into a tight hug. He kept comforting her as he looked at Lady Tsunade. "Are you sure about this? I mean, there could be a mistake," he began but was immediately cut off by Lady Tsunade. "There's nothing wrong with her chakra network. All her vitals are normal as well. She's perfectly healthy. And as for her change, I can bet on it when I say," she paused for a second and then continued, "that it's permanent." Lady Tsunade had clearly explained the reason as to why Naruto's change was permanent. But Naruto wasn't mentally ready to accept it yet. But I don't understand, how did it happen? And why me?" Naruto was on the verge of tears, as she held onto Sasuke tightly, who continued soothing her. "It's highly probable that you've been hit with a jutsu. So it may be permanent, but there might be a very very slim chance that the person who cast the jutsu may have a solution to it." Lady Tsunade started, rubbing her temple, not quite sure what to make out of the situation. But at the mention of having the slimmest of a chance to get back to normal, Naruto's ears perked up and she raised her head slightly to look at Sasuke's worried expression. "Then, will you?" she began, wanting to ask if he would help her in the situation, but was immediately cut off by the raven head. "Of course I will. I'd do anything for you," Sasuke blurted out, not caring about the way he framed his words. And Naruto knew better that he actually would. So she relaxed a little and nodded with a very small smile. And unfortunately for Sasuke, she even took notice of his word framing. She rubbed her chin against his chest with a forming smirk and asked, "Really? Anything?" Quote, on realizing his mistake, he blushed and immediately averted his gaze. "I didn't. It wasn't." Quote, "Oh, come on, just kidding." Naruto pulled herself away and wiped away her tears. She was feeling a lot better already after getting Sasuke's assurance. So we're gonna look for the person who did this to me and we'll kick his ass. Quote. Sasuke, regaining his composure, smirked. Damn right, we will. He said. And besides, I have no idea for how long I'd be able to maintain myself around this, you, Naruto. Things would have been a lot less complicated if you never change. Now it's just gotten awkward and crazy, he thought. They reached home after a long walk. It was almost evening, but as soon as they entered, another loud yell from Naruto struck Sasuke's ears. Why is everything a mess in the living room? Naruto yelled when she saw all the trash lying around in the living room. We seriously need to do some cleaning. Quote. Once again Sasuke was left speechless. Was this really the Naruto he knew? But anyways, they all ended up cleaning the entire apartment till it was shining diamonds. Well, that was tiring. Naruto exclaimed as she threw herself down on the couch. It sure was. Sasuke added, looking at his blonde teammate. He never once imagined that Naruto would volunteer in cleaning up the apartment. He was starting to quite like this soft version of Naruto, and since you did such an awesome job, as a reward, I'll treat you to ramen. Let's go to Ichiraku's. We'll have dinner there. Quote. Naruto immediately shot up from her position, with stars in her eyes. Really? Quote. Sasuke nodded. Naruto jumped up with joy and headed towards the door. Thank you so much, Sasuke. I love you the most. Quote. And with that, she bounced out of the house and made her way towards Ichiraku's, leaving behind a completely flushed Sasuke. What? Low love. Me. The most. Honestly, that idiot. How can he say embarrassing things like that all the time and not get affected at all? He thought, face-palming himself. But even he didn't realize the small smile that appeared on his lips when Naruto made the unintentional declaration. They were at the Ichiraku's and Naruto had ordered just one bowl of miso ramen, medium. Sasuke ordered the same. Teuchi and Ayame were literally shocked when the blonde disclosed her actual identity and told them the possibility that the change might be permanent. But they weren't affected as much since Naruto was still going to be Naruto after all, by heart at least. Well, for a change, she settled for only one bowl of ramen. So probably her habits were changing but her heart was still the same, and that was all the old man and his daughter needed to treat Naruto the usual. Naruto went on rambling about different things to Sasuke, while Sasuke kept eating, paying attention to some of the stuff she said, occasionally adding his signature, HN. Teuchi and Ayame were witnessing it all along with amused chuckles and a weird smirk. Sasuke had just smiled lightly for a comment that Naruto made and Ayame took the opportunity. So how is your date working out? She asked, in a teasing tone. For a moment, both Naruto and Sasuke stopped and stared into each other's eyes before quickly turning away, blushing and embarrassed. What are you saying? Naruto stuttered out, it's not like that. Quote. The Dobi's right. It's not. Quote. Oh really? She continued teasing and it was actually affecting the both teammates more than anticipated. Both of them were turning redder than ever. You know, you'll make a cute couple. Quote. Okay, that's it. Stop joking around already. Naruto was flustered. Naruto wasn't worried that she was making weird comments. But what worried her the most after her comment was what if Sasuke hates her since he's being paired up with someone like her. Naruto had always been alone. But slowly it changed. He made friends, created bonds. Sasuke was special. Their bond was stronger than any ever. But that was the closest thing, the closest bond Naruto ever had. So the thought of being together with the person he has the strongest bond with, Sasuke, was overwhelming. Not that Naruto hated it that Ayame was making fun of them, but she didn't want Sasuke to feel embarrassed because of it, because of her. And as for Sasuke, he was blushing so furiously, even his ears had turned pink. He had no intention of uttering a word. Ever since Naruto had turned into a girl, his mindset and thoughts had taken a twist of turns, which had been constantly sending him through a roller coaster of emotions. He didn't even know what to make out of it. It wasn't a crush or anything, rather it was just that he didn't know how to act like around the soft version of Naruto, and because of that he became awkward whenever these small instances happened. Oh, but I'm not kidding around, Ayame replied to Naruto's comment, rather in a serious tone. And that turned both of their faces, still in a deep shade of crimson, first to look at each other and then at Ayame. Well, think about it. Naruto has been chasing after Sasuke for so long, just to bring him back. I mean, he has been through a whole lot. He was badly injured when he first went after you, he even had a Chidori through his heart. Then he leaves the village to go training, just so he could be strong enough to beat you and bring you back. He wanted to be Hokage, which he wants even now, but momentarily he even threw that aside just because he wanted you back. Not just that, he begged the Raikage, even getting on his knees for you. He had nightmares about you leaving him. Hell, he was even ready to die for you. And you're saying that it's not something special, that you're just friends. Quote, in a way, Ayame was venting out her anger on Sasuke for causing so much pain to Naruto. But she also meant everything she said. And as for you Sasuke, ever since you returned, how many people have you actually talked to? You're always with Naruto. In fact, I'd say, you're only interested in being wherever Naruto is. For you it may be that you feel comfortable just around Naruto, but look at it this way around. What if Naruto were to go away on a solo mission for months? Would you still be in a cheerful mood like you're in now? Quote, both Naruto and Sasuke were left speechless. None of them had any idea what to say. They never took Ayame for a love advisor. Teuchi was also kinda shocked. For an unmarried woman, Ayame knew a lot about all this stuff. Well, that was, intense. He commented. Why yeah, Naruto replied. Her heart rate was unusually faster. She was feeling a little bit sad for some reason but also happy. She was feeling weird all of a sudden. Her blush still intact, she looked over at Sasuke. Sasuke had closed his eyes in a very composite manner as he drank the rest of the ramen soup. His hairs were gently brushing against his eyebrows and his strong figure seemed to shine under the moonlight seeping through wherever possible. Naruto gulped and looked away. Her heart was beating so fast that she felt like it was gonna jump out of her ribcage. Sasuke looked calm on the outside but something Ayame had said really hit him hard. He was the reason. He was the reason Naruto had to suffer a lot. It was him that caused Naruto to go through all that pain. He felt like he didn't even deserve her attention anymore. But how on earth was he supposed to do that? Sasuke felt guilty. So terribly guilty that it was killing him. It was true that he liked Naruto's company, and only his, or her. But at the same time he felt unworthy. He was maintaining his outer composure when Naruto's voice brought him back to reality. Let's go back Sasuke. Quote, and then they headed outside. They were walking slowly. Naruto was awfully quiet and Sasuke was not in his best spirits. The silence was getting awkward when Naruto decided to break it. You know it was really hard. I mean trying to get you back, to bring you home. She began. Sasuke bit his cheek as he prepared for the next hit. This is it. She's going to hate me, so much. He thought. Listen, he began. I'm so glad that I didn't give up on you. I would never do that, ya know. And now you're finally back. You're home Sasuke. She was standing in front of him now. You're really home Sasuke. She exclaimed. Her eyes glossy as she cupped his cheeks with both her hands. I thought I'd never get you back. I was so scared. Quote, as a reflex, Sasuke immediately pulled her into a hug. I'm so sorry Naruto. I'm sorry for hurting you. Sasuke was on the verge of tears as well. Why are you apologizing Teme? It's not a big deal. Yeah you did hurt me, like a lot but now you're here. You're here with me now and that's enough. You're back now, aren't you? You're not going anywhere, right? Quote, Dobi, he smiled as a few tears slipped out. And they stood embracing each other on the middle of the street. Slowly they pull away from the hug and look into each other's eyes. Immediately blushing, they create appropriate distance between them. But again, silence. Awkward silence. So do you think she actually meant it? Naruto tries breaking away the awkwardness since she's the hyperactive one. About me hurting you. Quote, no Teme. About. She blushes and fiddles. About as looking good as you know. Quote, Sasuke stared blank-faced at his teammate for a second, only to see a blushing mess of the blondie, and then smirked. Oh, maybe we do. He wanted to see how Naruto would react. Why, do you want that to happen? I mean us getting together? Quote, Naruto was beet red. Her mind had stopped working a long time ago and clearly she was at a loss of words right now. And Sasuke's teasing made it worst. She began stuttering, wh. Quote, watching Naruto all shy and struggling to form words only amused Sasuke. He was enjoying it, a lot. Knowing that Naruto's head wasn't working right now, he decided to drop another bomb. He inched closer, too close, her body touching his as he slipped his hand on her waist and pulled closer. Their nose almost touching, he bent forward. Naruto had no idea what he was doing, but strangely she liked it. But when she saw him bending closer to her face, she thought he was going to kiss her. She stared at his slightly parted lips and her heartbeat quickened even more. She was ready for a kiss. Well, she thought she was, but was Sasuke really going to? She couldn't take any of that or do any more thinking. She squeezed her eyes shut and waited for, well, something. But it never came. Instead, Sasuke brushed his lips against her ear and spoke in a husky voice. I'll tell you a secret, Naru. If you want to get me on bed, you'll have to be a great kisser. Naruto was a little disappointed that the kiss never came. It was stupid of her anyways, to think that Sasuke would want to actually kiss her. But his voice right inside her ears and his lips brushing against her earlobe was more than enough to put her in a daze. The atmosphere got hotter, the air became drunk and her mind went blank. The close proximity wasn't helping either. Maybe it was the after effect of turning into a girl, or maybe they were the teenage hormones acting out loud. Naruto didn't know. Her heart throbbed and her mind pounded loud. Her face was all heated up, tinted crimson, and electricity ran down her entire body. It would have gone a lot farther if Sasuke hadn't pulled back. He was also blushing, but mostly he was just amused by Naruto's reactions. He never would have extracted that kind of reaction from the male version of Naruto. But it seems so easy to get the female Naruto flustered. Plus he was also glad that he wasn't the only one dealing with the problem of not knowing how to act around the other. Naruto's face was so full of this strange emotion. Her lips parted and her breathing uneven, quicker actually. Eyes half closed. Was it the emotion of need, or was it just want? He didn't know, but her face looked so beautiful, even when it was all red and embarrassed. It was as if her eyes were pulling him in, urging him to take one more step. But her reactions were hilariously funny, which was really entertaining to Sasuke. Sasuke wiped the corner of his eyes and spoke, so lovingly, God, look at you. Quote. And then he smiled. A real smile, not some half-assed smirk. A real pretty smile, enough to make just about any girl to fall head over heels in love with him. Okay, no more jokes, let's go back. Well, actually you go ahead. I'll deal with something and then return, okay? Sasuke said. It wasn't actually a question, he actually had something to do. But before leaving, he reached out his hand to trace Naruto's cheek and spoke, get home safe. Then leaning closer, he placed a kiss on the top of her head and disappeared. Naruto just stayed there for a while. One of her hands reached the place where Sasuke's lips had touched and the other over her mouth as she fell to her knees. Her face still red and she could hear her heartbeat loud. Sasuke. She mumbled and immediately squeezed her eyes shut as the sensation of their bodies pressed together returned. Oh my god. Single quote. The next morning came early. But slight changes of Naruto's behavior kept making the highlights. It was Naruto who woke up first. She didn't sleep a wink last night as she was trying to get the thoughts of a certain Ravenhead out of her mind. She had never felt like this before. Not even when she was a boy. So the only explanation she had now was, must be because I'm a girl now. And like every other girl, back during the academy days, I guess I too am getting an obsession towards Sasuke. Naruto mumbled under her breath as she headed off towards the kitchen. That's it. It's just like how every girl was obsessed with Sasuke. Maybe turning into a girl is bringing out my fangirl side. That's it. Quote. Sasuke was up by now and had just entered the kitchen. Unlike Naruto, he had a damn good control over his composure. Last night he had jerked off to his best friend, but he was really good at burying those rising emotions inside and act cool. Looks like someone's up early? He smirked. His sudden voice sent a strange feeling across Naruto's body, but she didn't fidget. She couldn't, or her best friend might hate her. Having that kind of a dream for Sasuke, she knew she was screwed. It's not a big deal, Sasuke-kun. On hearing the kun leave her mouth, Sasuke nearly choked. Naruto never called him that. Naru, he began but immediately shut up. He didn't want to pry further. Naruto's change is getting worse, I'd say. She'd never call me so lovingly. She calls me a bastard. Maybe that's what I am. He thought. So, what are you making? Quote. Isn't that obvious, Teme? I'm making breakfast. Pancakes. Quote. Sasuke's sweat dropped. Naruto was actually making breakfast, which is not ramen. She definitely was turning into a girl. Ooh, cool. Let me help. And with that, Sasuke walked towards her and stood just behind her, her back almost touching his toned chest. Yeah, right, he wasn't wearing a shirt, since he had just gotten up. He reached for the pan and some oil from over Naruto. The proximity was so close that it was kinda affecting Naruto. She immediately turned around to complain or to ask Sasuke to make some distance between them. But she never got the chance for that. The moment she turned around, her nose brushed against Sasuke's chest, earning a low growl from Sasuke. Oi Dobi, what are you doing? Naruto just kept staring at his bare chest. It was muscular, pale and well-toned. It looked so strong and it'd give you the protective vibe. Her lips were nearing in. He was there, he was so close. Just one kiss. It would be possible, wouldn't it? Just start off by kissing his chest, then move up to his neck and then tiptoeing, reach his lips. His lips. How would they taste like in real life? All these thoughts were piling up inside Naruto's head as she didn't move from the position. Sasuke's heartbeat had gone slightly up by having Naruto this close, but he was confused as to why was Naruto not moving. He called out a few times and that's when he realized that Naruto was spacing out, although her eyes contradicted a little, the way they lingered on Sasuke's body. Sasuke didn't quite hate the position they were in fact he really liked it. Having Naruto so close was actually a joyous thing for him. But he also knew that this could also get risky. Like really risky. So he grabbed Naruto's shoulders and shook her gently. Oi, Dobi, stop spacing out. Quote. Naruto immediately snapped out of her fantasies and looked up to reach Sasuke's eyes. They were pretty. A small blush rose to her cheeks as pushed him away immediately. Sorry. I wasn't, she began. It's okay, you should go sit down, I'll make the pancakes, Sasuke sighed. On second thought, I'm not that hungry. I'll be going now, Naruto lied. The truth was she was finding it hard to control her stupid emotions. She was losing her freaking mind. So she decided to create some distance between them. What about breakfast? Quote. I'll eat something. And with that she left. Sasuke was left staring at the place Naruto was a second ago. Wonder what she's been up to. Quote. With Naruto. Naruto was dashing towards the Hokage tower. Her face was still a little red, but that didn't stop her to take a few complaints to the Hokage. Kakashi-sensei. She banged open the door to the Hokage's room. I need help. Quote. Kakashi didn't lose his cool, although it was gonna cost a lot to fix the door, again. What is it this time? He asked, poised and not lifting his eyes from all the boring paperwork. There's something wrong with me. Now that piqued Kakashi's interest. Other than the fact that you're now officially a girl. Quote. It's not permanent. I mean, Lady Tsunade said that there's still hope that the person who cast the jutsu may have a solution to this. I mean, that's the reason why none of my friends or the villagers were informed about it. But that's not why I'm here. Quote. So what's wrong then? Quote. You've gotta help me, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto, would you tell me what's wrong already? Kakashi was getting ticked. Naruto was just wasting time by going round and round in her words. It's. Naruto began and gulped. Her voice got lower when she continued, it's Sasuke. Quote. Oh. Kakashi raised an eyebrow, and what about him? Quote. Well, I don't feel well when I'm with him. Quote. Go on. Quote. I mean, it's like super weird. Just this morning, I thought Sasuke looked really good and his body looked so strong. I mean, I'm not weak and I can kick his ass anytime, but it was different. He looked strong in a different way, and I wanted to. Naruto blushed deep red. Well, never mind that. Quote. Kakashi's full attention was on Naruto right now. No way, was Naruto actually. Quote. And. Quote. And, yesterday, I had this dream. Which felt really real and I kind of enjoyed it a lot, and when the dream was over I felt sad and wanted to dream that dream again, but after that I wasn't even able to sleep and then morning came. Naruto started again. Plus recently, I started thinking that Sasuke has a very nice voice. It's so weird, can you even believe it? Maybe it's a side effect. I don't know, but I think I'm being haunted by the ghosts of Sasuke's fangirls. What should I do? Quote. Naruto was freaking out. And as for Kakashi, he had pretty much gotten the gist of it. He sighed. I don't think there's something wrong with you, Naruto. Quote, bullshit. There's definitely something wrong here. Tell me what I should do. Or change me back. Quote, would you listen first? Kakashi spoke calmly. I think you're starting to like Sasuke. Well duh. Obviously I like Sasuke. There's nothing new about that. I've liked him since the academy days. We're best friends for God's sake. But it wasn't weird then, it's weird now. Quote, Kakashi sighed. What I meant was, you like him, romantically. Naruto went deep red on hearing that and her heartbeat fastened. Say what? Quote, she slammed her fist on the table, still with a flushed face and her heart pounding. Don't make weird assumptions. I do not like him like that. He's my best friend. Quote, deny it all you want. Quote, I'm not denying anything. Quote, then answer a few questions first. How would you feel if Sasuke were to move out into a new apartment? How would you feel if Sasuke comes home with a girlfriend? How would you feel if you hear them make love at night? How would you feel Sasuke being close to someone who isn't you? How would you feel Naruto? Will you be able to let him belong to someone else that easily? You've chased after him for so long. Now go ahead and say that you don't like him, romantically. Naruto was quiet. Everything Kakashi-sensei said made sense. She wouldn't like it at all if Sasuke were to go to someone else. She wouldn't be able to take it. But that didn't mean that she liked him, right? Plus, last night was fresh in her mind. And Ayame's words were ringing in her ears. She had just had all the facts stated out loud to her by Sensei, hushing her voice. She still didn't know what to do. Even if she did like him like that, how is she supposed to go back to normal? Then tell me what I should do now. She spoke in a barely audible voice. I knew it. You really like him a lot, don't you? But sorry Naruto, you've gotta handle this yourself. Kakashi thought and said, rather in a stoic tone, deal with it. Quote, deal with it. Is that all you're gonna say? Quote, I've got a lot of work so don't disturb right now. He said, emotionless, and like I said. I'll repeat it if you want, just deal with it. Quote, now that pissed her off. How is she supposed to just deal with it? She came here to ask for help but Kakashi-sensei was kidding around. She started at him in disbelief as he wasn't taking her seriously. Why are you still here, Naruto? I told you that you need to figure it out yourself. Quote, how the hell am I supposed to deal with it when Sasuke is so freaking handsome? She yelled loudly and turned around, about to leave. What she saw next was enough to make her want to die. Sasuke stood near the door frame, still holding the lock, as if he had just entered. His mouth hung agape, probably in shock after hearing what Naruto had just said. Naruto was speechless. Her mind was a mess. She immediately took a step back and transformed into her Kyuubi form. Then, within a fraction of seconds, she disappeared from the scene. Kakashi sighed, but he was also getting slightly amused at how things were turning out. And Sasuke, he stood by the doorway, staring at the spot that was occupied by Naruto just a second ago. His mind was completely taken over by millions of questions that he didn't have any answer to. After a few seconds of silence he turned back, ready to leave but Kakashi's voice brought him into reality. Well, that must have been awkward. Quote, Sasuke stopped to look at him but chose silence as his answer. So anyways, what brings you here? Quote, he begins but Kakashi cuts him off again. By the way, I got news about the shinobi who might be responsible for the problem Naruto's facing. It seems that our dear friend is a chunin from the land of whirlpools. Quote, Sasuke's look turned serious but he was still silent. If you're up for it, I can create an official mission for the two of you by tomorrow. So, quote, okay, good. Now off you go and make sure that you talk to Naruto beforehand. She seems to have some troubles. Quote, a small blush made its way to Sasuke's ears who succeeded in keeping a cool face. He nodded and turned around. But before he could go, Kakashi spoke once again. Oh, and try to lower your voice when you're using the public bathroom especially for, those purposes. And that too at night. His smirk was visible even with the mask on. Sasuke froze and his entire face heated up, turning crimson. He immediately turned to face Kakashi and stuttered out, why you? Why you? How? Quote, well, I was reading ICHA when someone entered the last cubicle. But don't worry, I left immediately after I heard you call out Naruto's name, so desperately. Sasuke had no words. He opened his mouth to throw an explanation but nothing came out. His face was already beet red and his heartbeat began to quicken. Kakashi just chuckled at his reaction. For someone who helped defeating the strongest enemy in the history of the shinobi world, Lady Kagaya, you certainly are really feeble when it comes to matters related to the heart. Kakashi pointed towards the door as if ushering him to leave. Alas, Naruto is also the same. Sasuke immediately disappeared from the room as well. Now he didn't know if he should think about what Naruto blurted out or the fact that Kakashi knew he jerked off to his best friend. Ah! He groaned and tried to clear his head as he continued jumping over the rooftops. Naruto. I need to find her. Quote. Naruto had panicked when she saw Sasuke near the doorframe, so she decided to leave immediately in her Kyuubi form. But having no particular place to go, she somehow ended up in her previous apartment. Her face was red, and her head was pounding loud. Sasuke had heard it. Sasuke heard her call him handsome, and in that tone, it was over. Sasuke would hate her now. Sasuke wouldn't want to be in her presence anymore. He wouldn't. And so were the negative thoughts that were taking over Naruto's head. She was more worried of how Sasuke would treat her from now on. He hated fangirls, and Naruto's fit was exactly like one's. The old furniture was still intact inside the old apartment, although the place was dustier than before. Naruto found a corner and made herself seated, hugging her knees closely to her chest as she put her head on them and closed her eyes. It was only morning and Naruto hadn't had a decent meal. Time passed and the morning turned into afternoon and then into evening. Naruto was still cooped up in the corner, sometimes spacing out, sometimes thinking and sometimes talking to Kyuubi, who kept making fun of her. Admit it, brat, you like him. Quote. I do not. He's Sasuke. Quote. That's exactly why. He's Sasuke. The one and only, the person you were willing to die for. You gotta admit, you've got the hots for the guy. Quote. I don't. Quote. No need to lie. Naruto's got a crush. Naruto's got a crush. Ah, shut up. Quote. Time flew fast. She didn't realize that it was evening already and she had no intention to move from her place. And as for Sasuke, he was worried. No, that'd be an understatement. He was losing his mind. He had been looking for Naruto from the start of the day, and now that the day was about to end, he still didn't know where she was. He had looked everywhere. From the academy to the training grounds, the ramen stands to other restaurants, he'd searched everywhere. His Sharingan burned deep red as he kept looking. Where the hell are you, Naruto? Single quote. Finally, he came to a halt when he saw Sakura coming up to him. She stopped abruptly and caught her breath. Then she looked up to him and proceeded. She's not in the bathhouse as well. None of the street vendors saw her. I don't know where she is. Quote. Sasuke didn't reply, but the extreme sadness and fear that he was facing was clearly visible on his face. Sakura immediately understood that Sasuke was on the verge of breaking out. He might even go crazy if they didn't find her. So she added, there still are a few places where she could have gone. I'll go around the marketplace and you can go check her old apartment, okay? Quote. Sasuke didn't reply. He nodded and made his way to her old apartment. You promised that you won't leave my side, then where are you right now? Single quote. Naruto got up and dusted her clothes. Then looking out of the window, she realized that the sun was already about to set. It's been this long. No wonder I'm so hungry. I haven't even had breakfast. Single quote. She walked over the window to look outside when a figure suddenly appeared in front of the sill. Not noticing who it was, she took a step back and looked at the person. And sure enough, it was him. Sasuke was panting hard as he finally saw Naruto's form. He'd found her. She was here. He was almost out of breath from running around all day, yet without wasting a single second, he broke through the window pane and jumped inside. Naruto was a bit surprised that Sasuke was here, even feeling a little guilty for running away like that. But before she knew it, she felt warm arms around her. Sasuke had pulled her into a tight hug. Sasuke. Quote. Sasuke, not uttering a single word, pulled her even closer as he breathed hard, trying to calm his breathing. His one hand rested on her waist and the other on her neck. Naruto stood still, taking in his warmth. She slowly lifted her slender arms and wrapped them around her best friend. Thank goodness. Quote. Sasuke. You. Quote. Where were you? Why didn't you contact anyone before disappearing? Sasuke pulled back and held her shoulders and started questioning. Well. Quote. I was worried. You doby. Quote. and saying that he kisses her forehead, rather forcefully, and then kisses both her cheeks as if she was the most precious person to him and was gonna go away forever. Then, he pulls her into another hug, not wanting to let go of her anytime soon. A burning sensation was left on every spot that Sasuke's lips touched, and Naruto's heartbeat quickened. He forgot about my lips. She felt a little relieved, but when she saw the genuine concerned expression Sasuke was carrying, Naruto filled up with guilt. She didn't like seeing Sasuke look so worried. She realized that it was because of her, and that made her heart hurt. She sniffled and said, "I'm sorry. I really am." Naruto's grip on him tightened. "I just thought you'll hate me for calling you handsome like any other fangirl. And so I thought." Naruto started explaining. Listening to her desperate self-explanations, Sasuke pulled back from the hug and looked at her and chuckled. Then he cupped her cheeks and wiped the corner of her eyes, which were on the verge of tears. "Idiot." He started removing the hair falling on Naruto's face. "I know that I'm handsome. And you're the cutest girl that Kona has ever had. So what, huh? You're gonna run away from your best friend, are you crazy or what?" Quote, "I just want us to go back to what it was. You know, like how it wasn't so awkward. But I keep thinking about all these weird stuff about how to act around you so you won't hate me and all. I never had to think about my behavior in front of you, but now it's different. I just." Quote, Sasuke felt a little sad that Naruto wanted them to remain best friends, but after all the hurt he had caused her, she deserved her wish to persist at least. So he cut her off by pressing his index finger over her lips and spoke, "I will never hate you. Even if you insult me or throw my life away, I'll never hate you. So you don't have to think about any of that. I can never hate you, Naruto. Never. In fact, I think I'm. Really? So you're not angry?" Quote, "Dobi, why would I be angry? And besides, it's not permanent anyway. I got info on the shinobi who did this. So we can definitely fix all of it. Now let's go home, okay? No more talks. We'll leave for the mission tomorrow." Quote, and without saying anything else, Sasuke bent forward, sitting on one of his knees. "Get on." "Huh." Quote, "You haven't eaten anything since morning, don't waste any more energy. Hop on and I'll take you home." Quote, Naruto thought for a second and was about to refuse, since she didn't want to trouble Sasuke anymore. But a voice suggested otherwise. It was the Kyuubi. "Get on. Look at his back muscles, so amazing, you'll like it. And it's him who's offering, your future husband. Don't reject him." Quote, the words, "future husband," struck Naruto hard, and a shade of deep red flushed to her face. "WWW, what are you saying? It's not like that." Single quote, "Stop lying. You like him way too much. Just admit it and get on. And by the looks of it, he likes you just as much." Quote, Stop. Just stop. Don't make things up. There's no way he'd see me like that. And I admit that I like him a bit, but that's just it. Keep saying that to yourself. I like him just a bit. Besides, you heard him. It's not permanent. These feelings will go away when I'm back to normal. And what will you do if they don't?" Quote, "They will. At least, I think they will." Naruto was busy talking to the Kyuubi, and Sasuke was still waiting for her to get on his back. But on noticing that Naruto was spacing out again, he sighed and got up. Then he walked over towards her and slowly lifted her up in his arms. Naruto was immediately brought back to reality. She flushed red and looked at Sasuke. Quote, "You're taking too much time. Don't worry if you don't want to piggyback, I'll carry you like a bride, Naru-chan." Sasuke smirked lightly and jumped out of the apartment's window. Naruto's heart was about to jump out of her ribcage. That last line had gotten to her. Like a bride. Kyuubi smirked inside her head. She was a deep shade of red, and she didn't want Sasuke to see that and tease her, so she buried her head on his chest, giving occasional glances at Sasuke's handsome face. Sasuke gulped when he felt Naruto press her head on his chest. Yet, maintaining his composure, he continued jumping over the roofs to reach the Ichirakus. He could feel Naruto's slight glances, which he found really cute. He smirked and winked at her, causing her to abruptly hide her face against Sasuke. He laughed at her reaction and landed in front of the Ichirakus. Naruto felt a little disappointed when he put her down. She didn't want to part from Sasuke, not even a bit. So unconsciously, she took Sasuke's hand and interlocked their fingers and headed in, pulling Sasuke with her. It was Sasuke's turn to blush. He mentality face palmed himself. "It's not a big deal. It's totally normal for us to hold hands. It's totally fine. And she doesn't even like me, it's just temporary anyway. Single quote. As soon as he thought of her being a girl and having romantic feelings for him, temporarily, crossed his mind, he felt a sharp pain spreading through his chest. They ordered the same, 2 bowls of miso ramen. Naruto had immediately digged in her food, but Sasuke didn't even start. He was just looking at his blonde teammate, who was busy eating her ramen. A small smile tugged on his lips as he watched her eat. It felt peaceful. He then noticed a lock of her golden hair fall on her face. And without even realizing, he immediately reached for her face and removed the lock of her hair. Naruto felt this gesture and blushed, sparing Sasuke a glance. Their eyes met. Sasuke smiled lightly and caressed her cheek, then he slowly retraced his hand. Naruto felt her cheek burn up at the sudden contact and looked away immediately. "Stop staring at me, Teme." Quote. Sasuke finally looked at his bowl, deciding to finally eat a meal. But his mind wandered off again. Shit, what on earth am I supposed to do now? After Naruto's changes back, what on earth will I do with these feelings? I promised her that I'll do anything for her, but... He gulped. But, do I even want her to change back? Single quote. After they finish eating, Naruto heads outside and stretches since she felt sore from sitting for too long. Sasuke pays for their meals and joins Naruto outside. Naruto walks over him and wraps her arms around him slowly and rests her head on his chest. She was sleepy as well as tired. "Nay Sasuke, let's go home." Sasuke was a bit taken aback by her actions, but he returned the hug. Then he decided to walk towards the apartment, but Naruto tugged on his shirt, with a big pout forming on her lips. Sasuke had no idea why she was acting like that. Naruto was blushing as well, but she refused to let go of him. "What's wrong, Naru?" Quote. She didn't respond, instead she looked at him with bright eyes and sparkles. So cute, Sasuke thought. Looking away from him, she finally let her words out. "See, carry me, like before." Quote. Sasuke felt like his heart was pierced by Cupid's arrow. He abruptly turned his head around to prevent Naruto from noticing the crimson color of his face. But unnoticed by him, Naruto was blushing red as well. Without wasting any more time, Sasuke cleared his throat, his heart pumping fast as he picked Naruto up in his arms again. And slowly he started making his way towards the apartment. Naruto kept her eyes shut and her arms tied around Sasuke's neck. There was a peaceful silence filling up the atmosphere around them. "I didn't know you liked being carried often." Sasuke decided to tease Naruto a bit since he wasn't sure if the peaceful silence will stay peaceful or turn awkward. Shut up, Teme. I just didn't want to walk. That's why," Naruto pouted. "If that's what you want me to believe, I'm fine if you don't want to accept the fact that you like being close to me, Naru. Who likes being close to you, huh? Yo, you're dreaming." Quote. Okay. Sasuke teased and laughed. Once again, it was a real laugh, and true enough that only Naruto was able to bring Sasuke to laugh his heart out. She was the only one that made Sasuke feel alive. Even when she was a boy, Naruto was the only person who could bring out any kind of emotions out of Sasuke. Only him. And it's the same now as well. Naruto was mesmerized by his laugh. He looked so fascinating right now. At once she remembered the dream she had, him kissing her. And her entire face flushed. But he was just there. So close. Just a little effort and she could claim his lips. "Go ahead, kid. Kiss him." Unconsciously, she reached out her left hand to touch Sasuke's cheek. His skin was so smooth. She caressed his face gently and a small smile formed on her lips. Sasuke was taken aback at her actions. He kept staring at her, trying to figure out what she was doing. He felt himself getting hot for some reason. Naruto was feeling Sasuke's facial features when her hand trailed off to his lips. Sasuke's breath hitched when he felt her tracing her thumb over his lips. He slightly parted them, wanting to say something but no words came out. Naruto kept tracing his lower lip with a small smile as she mumbled ever so lightly, "Mine." Quote. Sasuke was too deep in his thoughts on what was going on, he missed what Naruto muttered. He fixed his gaze on Naruto's eyes that were in turn fixed on his lips. Slowly, she rose her gaze and their eyes met. After a second or two, Sasuke breaks the silence and looks away. "We should get going. We have a mission to attend tomorrow," he says. His mind was still a mess. Did Naruto want to kiss me? Then why did she stop? Ga. Stop your wishful thinking, Uchiha. Once she turns back into a guy, she probably wouldn't even want to be this close to me. I just hope everything goes well and we capture that bastard of a shinobi. Probably, when he turns back, I'll get into my senses as well. And besides, we're best friends for fuck's sake. Best friends don't lust over each other. So control your damn hormones. Single quote. Naruto looks away and nods, saying nothing. Her heartbeat was loud enough, but so was Sasuke's. It didn't matter which one was faster. But for Naruto, things were starting to get clearer than crystal. She knew what this was. Sure, she was an idiot, but she was not stupid to not notice what she wanted the most right now. She thought she had already had this feeling once. It was Sakura then, but now, it wasn't her anymore. And this time felt different. So damn different. It felt more stronger. She knew what she was feeling and she also knew who these feelings were for. On one hand, she felt really happy that it was Sasuke, but at the same time, she felt scared. What did Sasuke think about her? Did he even had the same feelings like her? Would he stop being so close with her once she changes back into a guy? You shouldn't think all this, he likes you as well. Just confess already and tell him that you are okay with being a girl and you're okay being with him. Forever. Quote. I can't do that, Kurama. Single quote. Sure you can. And what if he? Single quote. He won't. Quote. Okay, I'll try. Single quote. Naruto was about to open her mouth when Sasuke spoke up. I hope the mission goes well. Then you won't have to stay a girl forever. I swear, I'll not let that shinobi off the hook that easily. How dare he mess with people's gender? Does he not know how much trouble it causes? Quote. Obviously Sasuke was referring to the trouble in which he was falling for his best friend. He wanted to claim Naruto completely. He wanted to touch her, kiss her and make her his. But Naruto interpreted it differently and immediately hushed up. He doesn't want me to stay in this form. He wants me to change back. And he said that me being a girl is causing him troubles, huh? What was I hoping? There's no way he'd ever like me that way. I was stupid. For a second, I really believed Kurama and thought that. Quote. Naruto doesn't realize, but before she finishes her thoughts, big tear droplets were already leaking out of her eyes. And in seconds, she started crying and looked at Sasuke, tears trailing down her cheeks. Sasuke panicked. He had no idea why Naruto would start crying all of a sudden. He swiftly jumped over a roof and placed her down gently. Then he cupped her cheeks, trying to wipe away the tears, but more kept falling. Naru, what's wrong? Did you remember something or are you hurt somewhere? Hey, Naru, calm down and look at me, okay? He tried assuring her, but his actions ended up hurting her more. Stop treating me like this. I'll misunderstand, she thought, trying desperately to stop her tears. Hey, Naru, I know whatever this is we can figure it out, okay? You can tell me anything. I'll listen. I'm always going to be here, alright? I'll never leave you, just like you never left me. So please don't cry. Quote. Naruto didn't want to be led on. But what exactly was she supposed to do? She wanted Sasuke, and the fact that she's been causing trouble for Sasuke made her worse. She wasn't crying because of any other reason. She was in tears because she wanted to be with Sasuke, but she knew it wasn't possible. Now how was she supposed to state this trouble of her to Sasuke? So she had to find a different reason as to why she was crying. So in between sniffles, she asked slowly, am I a burden? Am I causing you any trouble? Quote. Sasuke immediately understood what she was referring to. He mentally slapped himself for not using the right words. He pulled Naruto in a hug and started rubbing soothing circles on her back. Do you really believe that? You chased after me for years. You saved me. Do you really think that now that you're a girl, you're going to be a burden to me? Like I said before, I'll do anything for you. I really did mean it. So you shouldn't worry about unnecessary stuff, okay? Quote. Naruto relaxed in his hug and slowly dried off her tears. Then she slowly nodded. She was happy that she wasn't any trouble for him, but that wasn't the point why she cried in the first place. But at that point she made up her mind. If she can't be with Sasuke forever, then she's going to enjoy her time with him now when she can. Soon after she stopped crying, Sasuke cradled her in his arms and they reached the apartment safe and sound. Well, here we are. Let's get you to bed. You look tired. Sasuke kicks open the door to their apartment and heads over to Naruto's room. He gently places her on the bed and sits beside her. Sighing, he runs his fingers through his raven hair and looks at her. So, I'll be goy. Sasuke opened his mouth to say that he was gonna go outside, but Naruto cuts him off. Stay. Quote. Sasuke closed his mouth and stared. Naruto realized that she might have sounded a little weird, so she speaks again. Well. Actually. Forget it, I didn't. Quote. Sure, Sasuke stated blankly, averting his gaze to the corner of the bed. I can stay if you want. Naruto's face lighted up like 1,000 stars as she quickly jumped to a side to make space for Sasuke. Come on then, lie down. Quote. Dobi. Sasuke chuckled lightly as he climbed up and lay down beside her. It was a moment of peaceful silence as they lay side by side just staring at the ceiling. Nay Sasuke. Do you remember the day when we fought? Quote. We were laying on our backs like this on that day as well. Only difference was we were looking up at the sky, but today we're looking up at the ceiling. Quote. Yeah. Sasuke chuckled lightly, closing his eyes for some time and remembering how Naruto had put everything on the line just to save a friend. That's right, a friend. Just a friend. There was another difference as well, a rather important one. Quote. Naruto turned her head to look at Sasuke and questioned, really? But I don't remember any other thing that was different. Quote. Idiot. How can you forget that you were a boy back then? And now you're a girl. That's pretty big of a difference if you ask me. Quote. And it's clicked Naruto when she realized what Sasuke meant. Sure enough, she was, then, a he. Nonetheless, she spoke, but even so, you were still you and I was still me. It's always been that way, Sasu. It's always you and me. And it doesn't change because of what gender I am. Hee. Although, it's kinda hard in this feminine body, but I'm still the Naruto you knew. Quote. Sasuke was a bit taken aback by Naruto's talk, which was not meaningless. And the fact that Naruto had called him Sasu instead of his full name sent butterflies fluttering through his stomach. It was like being called by a nickname by the person he fell in love. Realization hit him before he even finished the thought. What in the hell was he supposed to do now? If it is what he thought it was, then he was screwed. Like totally. He looked over and observed Naruto's features. His heartbeat rose abruptly and his cheeks tinted red. Even his ears had a shade of pink greeting them. If he had any doubts before, they were all clear now. And he knew it wasn't just because Naruto was a girl now. In fact, just like Naruto had said a moment ago, gender didn't change any of her. She was still the previous Naruto. He was in deep shit. It didn't matter if Naruto was a girl or a guy. He knew what he felt and was even confirmed about his feelings. He wanted Naruto. He had longed for Naruto from way back. Ever since he saved him from the ice ninja in the land of waves. He never cared about the gender. In fact, the only person who was of any significance in his life was Naruto. Yeah, you're still the same idiot from way back. Quote. Hey, I'm not an idiot. Quote. Sure you aren't. Quote. And they chatted for quite some time before Naruto inched closer to Sasuke and intertwined her legs around his. Then, she slowly closed her eyes, placing her head against Sasuke's chest so she could go to sleep hearing his calm heartbeat. Sasuke gulped but gently wrapped his arms around her waist. Their bodies were pressed together in a rather comfortable position. Naruto smiled softly, "Goodnight, Tsuke." Sasuke smiled as well and kissed her head and replied back, "Goodnight, Naru." Now, usually people would drift to sleep after wishing good night. But a sudden thought perked Naruto's interest and she looked up at Sasuke. Hey Sasu, you really like to kiss, don't you? Quote. Sasuke coughed lightly and looked at her, still holding her close. Really? And why are you suggesting that all of a sudden? Quote. When you found me, you literally covered my entire face with kisses. Sasuke immediately blushed on hearing that. That was just a moment thing. He never thought Naruto would tease him about that. But he wasn't bad at teasing either. Oh, that's 'cause your face is really sweet, you know. Can't help wanting to taste it. Now it was Naruto who went red. She was smirking a second ago and now she was all embarrassed. If I'm that sweet, why did you miss the best part? Naruto muttered under her breath, referring to the fact that he kissed her everywhere except her lips. Sasuke was, once again, surprised. He blushed red. How Naruto was able to say stuff like that without any worry is something Sasuke would never understand. But he did understand what Naruto meant. Oh, you're angry because I didn't kiss you, right? I am so sorry, Naruto. I didn't know you wanted to kiss me that bad. Who? Wa wanted to kiss you. Huh, stop dreaming. Quote. Sasuke giggled and leaned closer to Naruto's ear and licked the earlobe gently. Just so you know, I don't like kissing just anyone. Don't go thinking of me as an easygoing person, my dear Naru? Quote. His touch sent shivers down Naruto's spine. She did want to kiss him. His words and his actions were like honey to Naruto. She was falling deeper and deeper for him. Her body heated up abruptly and her face flustered when she felt him lick her earlobe. And then, he gently lifted her head upward and very slightly brushed their lips together and kissed her on her cheek. Although the touch was extremely light, their lips did come in contact for a split second. Good night, he whispered, pulling her closer and gently resting her head on his chest. To Naruto, it was the limit. She needed to breathe. Their lips had touched, so what if it was just a small contact? Did Sasuke do that on purpose, or was it something that just happened since he intended to kiss her cheek? It couldn't have been on purpose, right? Her breathing was unstable. Her heart wasn't ready to listen to her and her mind was a mess. She squeezed her eyes shut and took a deep breath. It was only Sasuke's scent that reached her nose. So calm, so relaxing. Even if he intentionally brushed his lips against her, she felt amazing. Sasuke wasn't hers, but all these little moments seemed enough. He smelled nice, too nice. Her chain of thoughts continued as she slowly drifted off to sleep. She was tired after the long day after all. Once Sasuke made sure she was asleep, he slowly sneaked out of the bed and headed straight towards the bathroom. So much for teasing you, Naru, when I'm the one who ends up getting affected like this. He thought, slightly irked but face colored crimson. Shit. Naru, I almost lost my cool. Even brushing our lips like that. Shit. He traced his fingers over his lips. His breathing hitched as he slowly unbuckled his pants. Anyways, let's just deal with this. Single quote. Naruto woke up only to be greeted by the peaceful sleeping face of Sasuke Uchiha. It seemed to her that she was the first one to wake up. She yawned as she tried getting up. But apparently that seemed impossible since she was locked in Sasuke's embrace. She tried to wiggle out of his arms without waking him up in vain. Unable to get out of bed, the first thought that filled her head was about what happened last night. When she intended to tease Sasuke but the tables turned upon her instead. A slight blush took over Naruto's facade when she also remembered the light kisses that Sasuke placed on her. Her stomach flipped as she kept staring at his sleeping face. She reached out her hand and slowly traced his cheek. The distance between their current position was not too much. Sasuke had his arms wrapped around her after all. She decided to move closer. Kyuubi smirked, claim his lips now Kit. It's a good opportunity. He's asleep. Quote. His subconsciousness yelled, do it. Kiss him. Quote. But her consciousness prevailed, don't cross the line. Single quote. She gently placed a kiss on the tip of his nose. Sasuke shifted lightly. His cheeks turned red and he squeezed his eyes. But wait, wasn't he asleep? Sasuke. Are you awake? Quote. No response. A smirk dashed its way to Naruto's lips when she whispered. Man. For a second I really thought you were awake. But since you're not, hee. Then she inched closer, again, and kissed the corner of his lips. Then she started leaving a trail of kisses on his chin and his jawbone, as if daring him to claim her lips. You sure you aren't awake? Naruto questioned in a very sweet voice when she saw Sasuke's blush deepen, his breathing getting uneven and the arms around her tremble ever so lightly. Then I guess I'll have to wake you up, Sasuke-chan. You see, if you don't wake up, I won't be able to either, so please understand. Saying that, she laid several kisses on his neck and moved down to his Adam's apple. She started nibbling on his skin in a teasing way. But since Sasuke wasn't giving up, she felt herself losing control. Come on Sasuke, get up. How far do you want me to go? Just wake up, she thought, but she didn't stop her kisses. It would be like admitting defeat in God knows what. Sasuke felt really hot now. He was certain the heat was maximum at a certain region of his body and he definitely did not want Naruto to feel his growing bulge. His face was a deep shade of crimson and his lips were pressed in a thin line to avoid letting out his voice at all. Even his hands were at their limits as well. They squeezed on Naruto's hips as she let out a soft moan. And because of the sudden advancement, she unintentionally nibbled on the most sensitive skin on Sasuke's neck. And that was the cue. Letting out a groan, Sasuke opened his eyes abruptly and quickly shifted their positions. He flipped Naruto over so that he was on top of her now. She squirmed under him, her face flushing. He had grabbed both her hands and locked them above her head as one of her knees found its way between Naruto's thighs. So why you really were awake. My dear Naru-chan, Sasuke spoke in between his uneven breaths. Do you even realize the situation you are in right now? Quote, what do you mean Sasuke? I was just trying to. Naruto knew exactly well what kind of a situation she was in right now. She really shouldn't mess with the Uchihas. Sasuke smirked and leaned closer to her. It's my turn now, he whispered, pulling down the zipper of her orange jumpsuit that she wore to sleep last night and started nibbling on her ear. Then he moved to her neck and started sucking on different spots, moving down to her collarbone. He laid a string of kisses and licks wherever his mouth found a spot. It felt amazing, or rather overwhelming for Naruto. She had never felt this way before and right now she didn't even know what to think. Her hands wanted to get out of Sasuke's grip but he wasn't letting go. Her legs felt weak and her knees trembled. What on earth was Sasuke doing? He didn't like her that way, so why was he going so far just to tease her? And why was she feeling so amazing? Damn it all. Her breathing fastened as she realized that her nether regions were leaking out. And knowing it was Sasuke gave her the best feeling ever. She wanted him, but she knew better. This was getting too far. Today was the day they were going on the mission to capture that shinobi. Soon, Naruto would become a guy again and probably Sasuke wouldn't want to do anything with her anymore. And that would hurt her more. She wanted Sasuke to continue whatever he was doing with her. It felt hella awesome, but she needed Sasuke to stop and not take things way too far. Not give her stupid hope. Sasu. Saint stop. Quote, Sasuke ignored what she said and continued sucking and licking. His knee, the one between her thighs, started rubbing on her crotch, unconsciously. His mind was definitely not in his control. He took deep breaths of her scent and hummed. So addicting, it was like he wasn't listening to anything else. He kept biting and sucking, leaving a few hickeys here and there on his doby's skin as he kept rubbing his knee over her drenched panties. Naruto jolted her head upwards as she felt a strong electric current rush through her entire self. Sasuke was rubbing on her most sensitive spot. Some part of her wanted him to continue and even remove the unnecessary clothes that were preventing the direct contact between his knee and her womanhood. But some part of her did not like it at all. It was going too far. And she was almost certain it will end up in regret. Naruto never even realized that she had been letting out soft moans of pleasure for quite some time now. But with all the strength she still had in herself, she said again. Place please Sasuke. Don't, it's enough. Saint stop. Quote, Naruto wasn't hating any of it but she still wanted him to stop. She didn't understand why Sasuke would give her unnecessary hope. Why was he leading her on? Was he doing that on purpose? All these thoughts filled her head to the brim. You don't like me Sasuke. But then why are you letting me believe that there might be a chance? Just stop already. I want to kiss you, like really want to do that. But I can't. What do you want me to do? I don't want you to stop. It's just like that dream. We haven't kissed though, but still. Gah, stop thinking like that. It's Sasuke. We're best friends. And there is Sakura. Single quote. She didn't even complete the thought when she realized yet another detail. What about Sakura? She had loved him for years. How can she do this to her? Falling for the guy she had loved for years. And how can she let Sasuke do the things he was doing now, with her? He should be doing that with Sakura. Yeah, there's Sakura. Naruto didn't know why, but just thinking about Sasuke being this close to Sakura. Him kissing her instead of Naruto, looking only at her with those beautiful eyes. Loving only her, these weird thoughts hit her heart like an arrow. Her chest felt tight, her heart tighter. She forgot about the momentary pleasure when she wondered if Sasuke would ever touch Sakura like this. Her eyes were getting blurry, tears pooling up in them. She somehow hated the possibility of Sasuke and Sakura together. Not to be rude, Naruto considered Sakura to be an awesome buddy of his. She genuinely cared about her and wanted her to be happy. But just not with Sasuke. Not Sasuke. I want him. I like him. Stopping her thoughts at that, she felt tears streaming down her face as she opened her eyes. She didn't even realize when she had closed them. But one thing was clear now. She was crying. Her cheeks were all red and her eyes were all messy. She tried stopping her tears but they just wouldn't stop. Sasuke. Her sobs were getting heavier, and that brought Sasuke back to his senses. He immediately removed his knee and looked up at her face, letting her hands free. He looked scared. Naruto immediately brought her hands down and covered her face as she wept, trying desperately to stop crying, but her emotions were leaking out bad. She knew she couldn't control it any longer. Sasuke was worse. He was terrified. What had he done? He was literally shivering. He immediately got off of her and dashed out of the room, mumbling the words, "Sorry, so sorry," over and over again. He hurried inside his room and locked the door. Then, dropping to his knees, he held his head tight. Just what on earth had he done? He had lost his control. He crossed one line. He left hickeys on Naruto. He licked her skin and sucked on it. He restrained Naruto from moving. He rubbed on her nether regions. He made Naruto moan like that. He let himself get carried away. He hurt Naruto and he made her cry. Naruto had stopped crying, finally. She didn't know what to think anymore. Guilt overtook her when she realized how she didn't want Sakura to be with Sasuke anymore. She wiped her tears and got out of bed and went to the bathroom. Undressed, she stood in front of the mirror and a small smile tugged on her lips, even after all the crying. Not just one, there were several love marks and hickeys on her shoulders, neck and collarbone. And they were from Sasuke. Guess you never got Sasuke to leave hickeys on you, Sakura. That's 1 point for me, I guess. Quote, seriously. Quote, what? I'm not wrong. Quote, Kit, how can you compare yourself against Sakura at a time like this? Quote, at a time like what, Kurama? The situation is the same as it was yesterday. Quote, it's definitely not the same. Sasuke tried to jump you this morning, even leaving a trail of hickeys on your neck and collarbone. But then you started crying. Now although you cried for an entire different reason, how exactly do you think he took the issue? I'm certain he's in a bad condition himself. He's probably thinking that he's the reason you cried, since he forced himself on you. Quote, wow Kurama, for a dumb fox, you sure know a lot about these stuff. Quote, that isn't that issue here. And I'm definitely not dumb. So tell me what you are going to do now. What if he wants to avoid you? Quote, I can't let that happen. I don't want him to avoid me, since this morning was partly my fault. I was the one who started the tease. Quote, good. I'd say that forget about becoming a boy again. Stay like this and get the Uchiha. Quote, that W will look really direct. I can't say that to him. Quote, then there's just one other thing that you can do, Kit. Confess. Quote, Kurama, come on. You know I can't. What if he refuses? I'll be sad. Quote, do you honestly think he'll reject you after what he did this morning? He likes you more than a lot, you know. Quote, but it could also have been a tease. Maybe he was teasing me, like always, but when he saw me cry, he felt that he went too far and so he ran away. Quote, for heaven's sake, Kit. Okay, never mind, let's say you're right. So what do you plan to do? Quote, I don't know. I really like him. Actually, scratch that, I love him. I don't know what I'm saying now, but I can't get him out of my head. I want Sasuke to like me back. I want him to be with me, always. And that's why I'm asking for help, Kurama. If only you said all this to him, he would have made you his by now. But since you're unbelievable, I can't help it. Well, since it's already like this, you can try and get him to fall in love with you then. Get him to fall in love with me. Quote, yes, make him fall in love with you before you are expected to change back into a guy. Quote, that sounds like a good idea. Quote, it is. You are definitely comfortable in being a woman. Although he loves both versions of you, but if you're a girl, you can help him revive his Uchiha clan as well. Both versions of me, what do you? Quote, never mind that, just do what you have to. But first explain it to him that you weren't angry at him. Quote, okay, got it, and then I'll make sure he falls in love with me. Quote, the Kyuubi smirks before cutting off the mental link with Naruto. Naruto takes a quick shower before getting dressed. She doesn't wear her usual jumpsuit. Since her initial goal was to get things back to normal between her and Sasuke, she decides to not wear the color orange. She checks the pile of cloths that had gotten back from laundry and picks a black shirt. It was quite big as compared to her size and it had the Uchiha crest on it. It was Sasuke's. But Naruto figured that he wouldn't mind her wearing a few of his shirts since she hated wearing the absolute women clothes Sakura had bought her. She quickly changes into his shirt, which reached till her mid-thighs, and shorts. Her shorts were almost covered by the shirt, which was way bigger than her figure, yet it highlighted her curves nicely. One could say, the cute Naruto looked kinda Y in her current attire. "Okay, let's clear things up with Sasuke," she exclaims before walking towards Sasuke's room. "With Sasuke? Shit, really? I freaking lost it. Damn it." Quote, Sasuke was on his knees with his back leaned on the closed door. Damn it. Quote, he was overcome with guilt. He never intended to make Naruto cry. He just started off as teasing her, but he himself never realized when he had forgotten about that and actually started enjoying it. He really wanted to do her right then and there. He already had a lot on his plate. Jerking off to his best friend, to Naruto like that. Wanting to touch her, kiss her and do all sorts of things with her. Having these indecent thoughts were weird enough when he realized something even more important. It wasn't just a lousy desire thing. It went far deeper. He liked Naruto more than anyone else. No one knew when or how, but he started wanting her for quite a while now. He had no idea on how to face the Dobi now. He was busy cursing at himself when he heard knocking on his front door. It had to be Naruto. Sasuke squeezed his eyes shut, on the verge of tears, waiting for the impact of Naruto's outburst of hatred. But she never shouted or raised her voice. Or maybe she did, but it was different than what Sasuke imagined. "Oi Teme, how long are you going to take to dress up? Can't you be quicker?" Quote, Sasuke raised his head and opened his eyes. Why wasn't Naruto blaming him or anything like that? Why was she acting like he didn't do anything wrong? He was clearly out of line. But then why? "Look, I get that you made me cry, but it wasn't just your fault either." Quote, and here it comes. She was mad but was acting cool to make things work out. "Go away Naruto. I said I was sorry. And I understand if you want nothing to do with me anymore. Just listen to me first Teme. Look, it was my fault I cried. I didn't think I'd actually lose." Quote, lose? Sasuke thought, just what in the hell is this Dobi talking about? What lose? He waited for Naruto to speak. "I just wanted to tease you, to win against you, but when you flipped the situation, I lost and I didn't like it and so I cried." Quote, Sasuke was at a loss of words. Did the Dobi took all of it as a joke? Did she really think that he was teasing her? If she did, then it wasn't his fault that she cried. Sasuke knew that he was wrong and that didn't change just cause Naruto didn't realize anything. But somehow, he felt a little relieved that Naruto took it as a joke since that would mean that she is not mad at him. Which in turn means that Sasuke had another chance. A second chance to make things work with Naruto and sort out his emotions. He knew what his heart wanted, but he knew all too well not to expect certain things that are just not possible. Sasuke was lost in his thoughts when Naruto's words brought him back to reality. Although he didn't expect to hear something like what she said. Quote, "And if you wanted to give me a hickey, you could have given it to me in a place that isn't visible. My entire neck is covered in marks like that." Quote, "Whwa." A blush spreads across Sasuke's cheeks. "Never mind that. First, open the door, would you?" Quote, he gets up and slowly unlocks the door. The blush on Sasuke's face intensified when he saw what Naruto was wearing. That's. Quote, "I know it's yours and I'm not stealing it. Just so you know, I'm gonna return it to you later." Naruto cuts him off, averting her eyes. "But why exactly aren't you wearing your clothes?" Quote, "By my clothes you mean the ones Sakura brought. They're way too uncomfortable. But this one," she holds the hem of the shirt she was wearing and looks down with a slight blush. "This one smells like you." Quote, Sasuke almost felt as if he was struck by lightning. Why on earth were the heavens being so mean to him? It was hard enough to look at Naruto wearing his shirt. But the reason? How on earth was he supposed to maintain his composure? Sasuke immediately averted his gaze to look anywhere except Naruto as the color reached his ears. I don't. Quote, Naruto realized that she might have made him uncomfortable by saying that, so she tries explaining again. "It's just, your smell. I am mean. It somehow makes me feel closer to you, that's why." Quote, Sasuke was ready to die. Just what on earth was the Dobi saying? Did she even realize that her words had become the reason for Sasuke to lose his stoic composure? And then there's the fact that the women clothes that Sakura brought are all very weird. I only had the orange jumpsuit, which was decent, but it's kinda dirty now. Quote, whatever. Sasuke sighed and closed the door lightly to get changed. I'll be out in a minute. Sasuke locked the door from inside and covered his mouth with one of his hand, trying to even out his breathing. His entire face was redder than a tomato. I'm really sorry, Naruto, but somehow I'm glad that you took the morning incident as a joke. That makes me feel less guilty somehow. But I really wanted to. Gah, just what the hell did you do to me? Not just the female you, but the male one as well. And how the hell did I fell for the number one knucklehead and most unpredictable ninja in Konoha? What am I supposed to do now? Single quote. With Naruto. Hey Kurama, do you really think he'll fall in love with me? Quote. He already is in love with you, but you're not willing to accept it. Kurama thought and sighed. Of course he will. Just get him. And besides, didn't he already say once that if you wanted to get him on bed, you'll have to be an awesome kisser? So I'm guessing, if you manage to kiss him good, he'll probably make out with you, and in majority of cases, can bring two people closer than ever by making them reveal their true feelings. Kurama, stop saying things like that. Naruto blushes red, remembering the time when he said that in the dream she had the first night. I don't want us to just make out and all. I want a more serious thing. Quote, yeah I get it, but it's inevitable. You've got a fox inside of you, and foxes can get really turned on in front of their mates. Just stop talking, all right. Quote, after a while, Sasuke dresses up quite casually and opens the door again. The reason why they weren't in their formal ninja attires was because they were supposed to go undercover, since no one besides Sasuke, Sakura, Lady Tsunade, Shizune and Kakashi knew that Naruto was now a girl. Also, there was the fact that Kakashi wanted the two of them to take a short break after everything they went through. So the mission to capture the shinobi and turn Naruto back to normal, if possible, was actually an official undercover mission. Oi Dobi, let's get going then. We can have breakfast along the way. All right. Quote, the two of them leave the apartment and make their way towards a random restaurant. Ramen wasn't the best option for breakfast. They reached the place and took a seat. The place was almost empty, just a few customers were there. So no one paid any attention to whoever entered. Sasuke ordered some food for them while Naruto waited patiently. Soon the food arrived and they started eating. After a while, Sasuke had already finished eating and currently he was busy seeking glances at his blondie. He had a small smile tugged on his lips as he watched Naruto eat in a very adorable way. The best part was that she was being extra careful to not spill any of the food on her clothes since they belonged to Sasuke. She really was cute, well, according to Sasuke at least. He mentally noted that his clothes with the Uchiha crest on them suited Naruto best. While he was happy that he had become a lot closer with Naruto, somewhere in his head resided a small amount of fear. Would Naruto stop having feelings for him when she changes back to a guy? Sasuke was no idiot. He could tell by now that if not exactly like, or love, the female Naruto definitely has some sort of feelings for the Uchiha. Maybe a crush. Her blushes and fiddles would explain it. But what he couldn't tell was if her crush on him is genuine or just because Naruto is a girl now that she's having some obsession over his face. And that's why he didn't want to take advantage of her while she herself might be confused what type of feelings she's facing. But for Sasuke, one thing was certain. He loved Naruto and gender didn't matter. He was so busy in his thoughts, he totally failed to realize that Sakura had just entered the restaurant and was currently headed towards them. She approached their table and greeted the two of them. Sasuke wasn't paying attention, but Naruto's voice brought him back to reality. Oh hi Sakura-chan. Naruto returned the greeting in her loud obnoxious voice. Now if anyone knew Naruto better, they would have been able to tell that Naruto's voice seemed, well, kinda off. And wasn't that obvious? Naruto knew that Sakura had loved Sasuke for so long and it didn't feel right for her to just walk her way in. But it wasn't her fault either. Sasuke realized Sakura's presence and hummed in response to her greeting. Sakura took a seat beside them and began to chatter with Sasuke. She was still nuts for him. Just a little more mature. Naruto focused on eating, but she couldn't ignore this weird uneasy feeling that would take over her stomach whenever Sakura made physical contact with Sasuke or just laugh openly with him. Even Sasuke looked comfortable around her and Naruto hated it. Naruto literally dropped her chopsticks when what Sakura said next to a crappy joke about Kakashi-sensei. So, well, actually. Sasuke-kun, I have something to tell you. Are you busy? She fiddled with her fingers just like the Academy Hinata would do whenever she saw Naruto. A huge blush was also spread over Sakura's face. Somehow, Naruto didn't like where this was heading. Sakura continued, actually, I've said this to you over and over again. But none of the time it was in a serious mood. And I've actually waited for a long time to prepare myself for this. So if you would meet me near the old bridge, it definitely won't take long. It's just I really need to say it properly, and I won't force you to reply right away either. Quote, Naruto was sure now. It was going to be a confession. A love confession towards Sasuke. Sasuke observed Sakura for a moment. He probably had a hunch on what Sakura was going to say. And he knew that he shouldn't lead Sakura on. He had to make things clear with her, and sooner the better. And now that Sakura herself had brought on this topic, it seemed like the best chance. Okay, let's go now. I also have some things to discuss with you, Sasuke replied, getting up from his seat. Sakura brightened up and nodded. Okay, I'll see you there. You take your time, she exclaimed before leaving the restaurant. Naruto hadn't spoken a word. He kept staring at his now empty plate, wondering if it would be better for Sasuke to choose Sakura or not. Sasuke called for the waiter and paid for the food. Then he walked over to Naruto and bent down to meet her eyes. Hey, do you mind if I leave just for a second? I'll be back soon and then we'll leave for our mission, okay? Quote, Naruto didn't want him to go. At all. Yet she nodded, okay. Be back soon please. Quote, Sasuke smiled and kissing the side of her head, he left real quick. Naruto had a small blush on her cheeks and a huge pout on her lips. Why would he go to her and leave me alone? Bad Sasuke. Quote, but then other thoughts took over her mind. What if Sasuke actually accepts her confession? What if they become a happy couple? What will she do then? She immediately got up and rushed towards the old bridge, where they used to wait for Kakashi-sensei for missions during the academy days. Once Naruto reached the spot, she found a hiding spot for herself. She hid herself on top of a tall tree, neither too close nor too far from where Sasuke and Sakura stood. The perfect spot for eavesdropping. Sasuke was leaned to the bridge railing and Sakura stood in front of him. She looked kinda shy and was fiddling. She looked nervous as well. So, well, Sakura began. Look Sakura actually. Quote, no wait, let me finish first. Quote, Sasuke nodded and waited for her to speak. Although he knew what she was going to say and he also knew his answer wasn't going to change. For him, it was always going to be Naruto. Well, during the academy days, like every other fangirl, I too was obsessed with you. More like, I chased after you so you would like me back. I was like, if I get to be with the hottest and the most amazing guy, it really would be amazing. Back then it seemed really easy. But gradually, I started realizing that these feelings were a lot stronger than what I thought. From what I thought was a crush, these feelings grew when we went on team missions and I started liking you for real. Not the obsession type of like, something different, Sakura started explaining. And when you were about to leave the village and I tried to stop you, I even blurted out that I was in love with you. I don't know how much of it I actually meant it or maybe I said that because I didn't want you to leave me. But I have my answer now. Quote, over the years, when you did all those bad things, I thought maybe this way, I'll be able to get rid of these feelings. I even strategized a plan to kill you but my feelings stopped me. They had grown way too strong to just let you go. I know now what it is. And I'm sure of it. She paused and took a deep breath and looked him in the eye. Sasuke Uchiha, I'm in love with you. Quote, and that was exactly what Naruto had feared. Sakura had finally said it. But what about Sasuke? Did he feel the same for her? Please don't say yes. Please reject her. Please. Naruto's subconscious screamed. As the possibility of Sasuke loving Sakura existed, Naruto started feeling anxious. Sasuke wouldn't accept it, right? If he does, what should Naruto do? Naruto was thinking very hard at the moment but suddenly her mind came to a halt when she heard what Sasuke said next. I already am in love with someone else. So I'm sorry. Quote, Sakura looked shocked and taken aback. Tears pooled up in her eyes. She had been rejected. She immediately shot her head down, shutting her eyes tight. Who is, quote, I'm sorry Sakura. I really like them and for once I'm happy to accept it. Even if I can probably never get together with them. I probably don't even deserve them. Even if they don't like me the same. I just can't help it, I guess. I love them more than anything. Quote, Naruto was hit hard with what Sasuke had just said. He already had someone he loved. And he loves that person more than anything. Sakura's eyes widened when Sasuke went on talking about his special person. She had never seen that look in his eyes. He had never given Sakura that look, the one he was having while talking about his special person. I see. And as if on cue, Sakura immediately dashed out of the place. The tears she had been holding on, finally came falling as she ran away crying. Sasuke sighed and looked over to where Naruto was hiding. You can come out now, Dobi. Quote, Naruto, who had been fretting over her insecurities, suddenly broke away from her thoughts and looked over to where Sasuke was standing. Sasuke was, no doubt, looking at her. The bushes and trees failed to do their job in keeping Naruto hidden. Sasuke knew. How did you? Naruto began as she slowly came out of her hiding. I could easily sense your chakra. But that's not important. Sasuke smirked lightly as he started walking towards her. What's important is the reason why you followed me here and eavesdropped. Quote, AEAV eavesdrop. Who was eavesdropping? Huh. I just happened to be passing by. That's it. Naruto went all defensive. Sasuke chuckled and ruffled her hair, so very gently, and smiled, okay, let's get going then. Quote, and saying that, he walked a little ahead before stopping, come on. Don't get left behind. Naruto had her heartbeat fastened when he smiled and ruffled her hair. But she was embarrassed more and extreme sadness seeped into her bones. Sasuke noticed her presence way before and now probably he knows why she was there. She felt insecure and a little bit jealous, but Sasuke was still being his usual self. Deciding to let go of that, she focused on what was more important at the moment. It was something that can ruin years of nice sleeps for her. Sure, she was happy when Sasuke rejected Sakura, but who was this other person that Sasuke mentioned? Was she Ino? Or was she that red-haired healing woman? Or maybe it was a guy. Naruto was starting to get restless. She had no idea who this person was who had claimed the hottest, Tsunere's, heart. Honestly, she didn't like the feeling that was taking over her at the moment. But suddenly, bright light, a pale face, onyx eyes, raven hair and pretty features. Sasuke had inched closer to her and the pure white light from the sun that was hitting his backside, made Sasuke look so divine. It was like she had fallen in love all over again. His lips were moving. He was saying something. She couldn't take her eyes off of the smooth and pink pair of parted lips. And Naruto realized that she was back in her world of fantasizing. But it was Sasuke. Oi Naruto. Stop spacing out. We should get on with the mission. Come on. Quote, young love so intoxicating, the Kyuubi smirked. Okay, that's it. I'll give you a kiss if you like my lips that much, since that's where you keep staring at, just start moving, okay? Sasuke moved closer. It took a while for Naruto to realize what Sasuke had just said and she immediately broke out of her daze and looked at Sasuke, just inches apart from her. Their lips were going to, gah. Naruto immediately flushed and pushed Sasuke back and blurted, JJJ just WHWH, what do you think you're doing? You can't just. Great, you're back to reality. Let's go now. Quote, just amazing kid. Keep embarrassing yourself in front of your future husband. Just shut up, and don't say that he's my. Hee. Ignoring the Kyuubi's smirks, Naruto began walking, following Sasuke close. She was determined to make him fall for her no matter what. She's going to beat her newly found love rival, and have Sasuke all to herself. They had already started on their mission to reach the land of whirlpools. Well, the thing about this place was that it would take days to reach there. It was going to be a long journey. The land of whirlpools was located a little further than Suna. And Naruto, being Naruto, decided that she wanted to visit the Suna siblings before they passed that village and head towards their original mission's destination. We haven't met them in so long. They weren't there on the day we got discharged either. Naruto whined, clinging to Sasuke. They had just walked a mile from the outskirts of Konoha and Naruto was already irritating Sasuke with her baby actions. You're a girl now. They won't recognize you, and even if they do you really want them to see you like this? Sasuke asked as if that's exactly what he wanted to ask. But on the inside, he had another insecurity. Go to Suna? Ha, as if. There's that guy over there. The sand Jinjuriku, Gaara. What if he falls for Naruto as well? He already holds Naruto in a very high regard. And I really don't want a love rival at the moment since my own ship isn't sailing that well. No way in hell, I take a risk like that. I won't let you see him. Single quote. Oh come on Sasuke. Gaara's awesome. He's not going to make fun of me even if I'm a girl. Let's go, pretty please. No. Please Sasuke, we are best friends. No, ouch. Best friends, that hurts. Single quote. Sasuke, we were best buddies. You're my brother, aren't you? So please. Naruto continued whining. And no, best friends was still okay but. Brother. Single quote. Please, Oni-chan. Naruto was now literally hugging Sasuke and looking at him with puppy eyes. Puppy-eyed look continued. Sasuke was looking at her as well. His heart was about to explode at the cuteness. The Oni-chan hit him hard with the Cupid's arrow. Oni-chan. Quote. Sasuke had no choice. He sighed and replied, okay, but. He bent down and quickly placed a kiss on the corner of her lips and smirked. Not Oni-chan, Naru. Naruto's face flushed and she hugged him tight, burying her head on his chest. Her tan ears were holding a cute shade of red as well. And not fair. Sasu. You can't just surprise someone like that. Naruto stumbled upon her words, he missed my lips again. Single quote. Sasuke just smiled and rubbed her back soothingly. Naruto relaxed in his embrace. Slowly, Sasuke's hands began lingering. Naruto felt a shiver run down her spine when Sasuke's hands were moving down. From her back to her waist and slowly to her hips. Sasuke's breathing had gone unsteady as he realized what he was doing. He was taking another dangerous step and Naruto wasn't moving at all. She was still hugging him tight. He gave her hips a little squeeze but this did earn him a reaction from Naruto, allowing him to gain control over his own actions. Naruto's head jolted backwards as she gasped and looked up at him, Sasuke. Quote. But before she could say anything further, Sasuke cut her off and added, sorry, was just checking something. With a small smirk on his face, he continued, you've definitely grown in certain areas ever since you became a girl, haven't you? Quote. I. Naruto didn't have words. Did Sasuke want to? No, that couldn't be possible and besides he was so calm. Anyway, let's keep moving now. We've been standing in the middle of the road for long now. Quote. Why yeah, let's go. Close call. Really close. Damn it Uchiha, keep your hands in control. Sasuke thought, but, either way, she's so soft. I really want to just, no don't think like that. No bad thoughts. Single quote. Why did he make up a lie? It's so confusing. There's just no expression on his face. He clearly wanted to touch me but how is he so calm? Naruto thought, face still flushed. And the two slowly started walking towards the said place, Sanagakure, the village hidden in the sand. Since they had already decided that this was going to be a long journey, they weren't in any hurry. They would also take a break from their routines by doing some sightseeing around the villages. This mission was basically a type of holiday for the two of them, for all their hard work. But in their case, maybe it was a long date. In Konoha, Ichiraku's, Sakura was sitting at a corner, staring at a small bowl of pork ramen with her tear-stained eyes. Hinata and Ino were just outside the tent, peeping inside occasionally. So what do you think, what happened to Sakura-chan? Why is she crying? Hinata asked, with clear concern visible in her eyes. I don't know but considering the things that can get her this worked up, I'm guessing it's something to do with Sasuke-kun. Ino replied, frowning. She didn't like this side of Sakura at all. Sasuke. Hinata wondered what might have happened. Is it by any chance related to the super-secret mission Sasuke-san had left for with Naruto? Quote. Yeah, I heard about that. Those two guys left today. But probably that's not it. Ino crossed her arms and started thinking. I know, she probably confessed to Sasuke-kun and got rejected. Now that'd be funny. Ino. Hinata wanted her to lower her voice, since it was getting louder and she was afraid that Sakura might hear her. But before she could say anything, it was Sakura who spoke in her hoarse voice. I can hear you, you know. Ino sighed and entered the tent, pulling Hinata along with her. They grabbed the seat next to her and ordered miso each. So, what exactly happened? Ino asked, not directly looking at Sakura. After a short silence, Sakura finally replied, I lost. Quote. Ino immediately looked at her. She was almost confirmed that she was rejected by Sasuke, but that wasn't the case. She was upset about a loss. You lost. Oh, so it wasn't a love confession? I see, you lost in what? Against whom? Quote. Hinata was also curious. She for one definitely knew how strong Sakura was, and for her to lose to someone. Naruto. He beat me. And the worst part. Sakura looked up at the two of them, tears slipping down her cheeks. He wasn't even competing. Quote.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.